It's loud. A faint whisper drifts from the corner of the expansive, hushed boardroom. Wei Chen pauses, mop in hand. His pulse quickens. His son, Kai, rarely speaks above a murmur, especially not in the sterile expanse of these upper floors. The boy sits cross-legged on the plush carpet, a tiny figure in a sea of corporate authority. But his gaze isn't on the sketchbook in his lap. His wide, thoughtful eyes are locked on the enormous glowing screen dominating one wall. What's loud? Chen asks gently, his voice rough in the airtight stillness of the 50th floor. He'd had to bring Kai along on his night shift at Nexus Dynamics after the babysitter canceled due to illness, a last resort that always left him uneasy. The numbers, Kai says, pointing a small, steady finger at the digital display. That one. It's screaming. Chen follows his son's gaze. To others, it's just a cascade of data, revenue projections, market trends, and asset valuations for a multi-billion-dollar merger. But Chen isn't like others. He understands Kai's quiet intuition. When Kai speaks, his words carry weight. And as Chen looks where his son points, a chill runs through him. Kai isn't just seeing numbers, he's sensing a pattern, a rhythm only he perceives. And one note is jarringly, painfully wrong. A single figure in the asset valuation column for the acquisition target, Corpulse, is inflated. Not slightly, but by a margin that could turn a promising deal into a financial disaster. Chen's grip tightens on the mop handle. His job is to clean floors, not fix corporate ledgers. Stay here, Kai, he whispers, more to steady himself than his son. He sets the mop and bucket by the door and approaches the whiteboard, his rubber-soled shoes silent on the polished floor. He stands before the screen, its glow casting shadows over his gray janitor's uniform. 6 years. 6 years he's mastered the art of invisibility. He knows the exact tilt of his head to avoid notice, the rhythm of moving through empty halls after the suits and their ambitions have left. Invisibility has been his armor for 2,190 days. His past life, a corner office, tailored suits, taught him that numbers are truth, but people twist them. He was once a forensic accountant, among the best, until a web of deceit unraveled his career, leaving him with a tarnished name and a son to raise alone. Now, the ghost of that man stirs, urging, fix it. That number's a trap. It'll sink them. But the janitor, the survivor, counters, walk away. It's not your fight. One slip, and you lose this job, the apartment, everything. He glances at Kai. His son watches him, expression calm but gaze piercing. Kai trusts him to see the flaw, to hear the discordant note. Walking away would betray not just his own buried principles but the quiet faith in his son's eyes. Chen's breath catches. He scans the room. Cameras, small black domes in the corners, watch passively. They're built for theft, not for a janitor rewriting financial fate. He makes a choice, not a decision but an inevitability, like gravity pulling him forward. He steps to the sleek console controlling the board. His calloused fingers, rough from years of cleaning, hover over the touchscreen. He opens the editing tool, and a palette of digital markers appears. He selects red. His hand shakes as he reaches for the screen. No traces, he thinks, a reflex from a life spent hunting white-collar criminals who always left a clue. He grabs a clean microfiber cloth from his card, wraps it around the stylus, and approaches the glowing wall. He finds the number, $415 million. It's polished, bold, and utterly false. With 2 precise strokes, he strikes through it. Then, beside it, he writes the true figure, the one his instincts, experience, and Kai's quiet point confirm, $350 million. A $65 million lie, now exposed in stark red. The silence shifts, heavy with consequence. He's no longer just a cleaner. He's crossed a line, become a player in their game. Time to go, Kai, he says, voice tight. He grabs the stylus again, heart hammering, and erases the strike-through and the false number, leaving only his correction. It stands bold, defiant, a silent accusation. He tosses the stylus onto the console, grabs his mop and bucket, and hurries to Kai. The boy stands, tucking his sketchbook under his arm, and takes his father's hand, small fingers curling around Chen's. They leave the boardroom, Chen's mind racing. He didn't just break a rule, he shattered the barrier between his world and theirs. As they wait for the service elevator, the main elevator doors open with a soft chime. Liang Zhao, head of financial operations, steps out, laughing with 2 men in sharp suits. Zhao's polished, his hair flawless, shoes gleaming. He's boasting about a golf game, voice bouncing off the marble lobby. The caddy was useless, cost me the 5th hole, he says, shaking his head. Chen instinctively pulls Kai behind a large concrete planter, blending into the shadows. Zhao's gaze sweeps the lobby, sliding over them like they're part of the decor. He and his colleagues stride toward the exit, their voices fading. The service elevator clanks open. As the doors close, sealing them in the scent of bleach and steel, Chen exhales. He looks down at Kai, who meets his gaze with a flicker of pride, of understanding. They descend 50 floors in silence. When they step into the pre-dawn city's cool air, Chen feels the weight of what he's done, and the quiet strength of the boy beside him. Wei Chen gazes up at the Nexus Dynamics Tower, a towering edifice of dark glass and steel, holding its secrets in silence. Tomorrow morning, Mei Lin, the company's relentless, data-driven CEO, will stride into the boardroom and see his correction. She, of all people, will understand its significance. A shiver of dread runs through Chen. He acted to fix a flaw, the only way he knew how, but he's unsure if he sparked a revolution or sealed his fate. Mei Lin doesn't walk, she moves with a precision that feels almost predatory. At 6:15 a.m., the Nexus Dynamics Tower is her domain, a quiet empire of glass and steel. She trusts the stillness, the filtered air, and above all, the numbers, pure, unyielding data that built her legacy. People are chaotic, emotional, fallible. Data is truth. Her routine is sacred: black coffee, no sugar, a brisk walk through the silent 49th floor executive wing, then the 50th floor boardroom to review critical projections alone, before others' voices cloud her clarity. She enters the boardroom, and her eyes lock onto the digital whiteboard. Her mind, a calibrated machine, spots the anomaly instantly. It's not the data, it's a single number glowing in a red shade that clashes with the company's approved palette. An intrusion. A flaw in her perfect system. Her jaw clenches. She strides to the board, heels clicking sharply on the polished concrete. The corrected figure for the Corpulse valuation reads $350 million. She runs the numbers in her head: market volatility, debt ratios, growth projections, faster than any algorithm. The number is correct. Not just correct, it's masterful. It accounts for a subtle dip in Corpulse Q3 earnings that her elite analysts, with their prestigious degrees and high salaries, overlooked. The correction didn't just save a deal, it averted a $65 million disaster. This makes it worse. A random error would be simple. This is calculated, anonymous brilliance, a whisper in her soundproof empire. And Mei Lin does not tolerate unidentified whispers. She taps the console's intercom. Security, my office. Now. 2 minutes later, her head of security, a reserved man named Jian Zhang, stands before her, alongside a disheveled Liang Zhao, head of financial operations, summon mid-morning routine. Someone altered the Corpulse projection, Mei Lin says, her voice cold and precise, gesturing to the board. Zhao squints. Probably a glitch. I'll run a diagnostic. These boards can be temperamental. It's not a glitch, Mei Lin snaps. The change is correct. It saved us $65 million. Who made it? Zhao blinks, thrown. I don't know. The file was locked at 10 p.m. Only my senior analysts and I have access. Mei Lin turns to Jian. Pull all footage from this room. Midnight until I arrived. They review the footage on Mei Lin's desktop. Hours of stillness pass, the whiteboards glow the only motion. Then, just after 2 a.m., the door opens. A janitor, Wei Chen, pushes a mop bucket, followed by a small, quiet boy. Zhao scoffs. The cleaning crew? Probably bumped the console by accident. Mei Lin stays silent, leaning closer. They watch Chen approach the board, wrap a cloth around the stylus, and make the change with deliberate precision. It's no accident, it's a calculated act. Zhao's face reddens. That's it. He's done. Tampering with company data? That's grounds for immediate dismissal. I'll have him out of the building myself. No, Mei Lin says, her eyes fixed on the screen. She watches Chen erase the old number, leaving his correction bold and solitary, a quiet claim of truth. She sees him leave with his son, never looking back. He's a janitor who understands forensic accounting better than your entire team, she says, her voice like steel. Find out who he is. I want him on this floor in 1 hour. Morning light spills into Chen's small apartment, feeling like an accusation. He hasn't slept. Every creak of the building, every distant siren, sounded like the end of his job. He moves through breakfast preparations for Kai, his hands unsteady. The apartment is cramped but alive with Kai's intricate drawings, geometric patterns and star charts taped to every surface, a universe built from crayons and dreams. Chen packs Kai's lunch, a sandwich cut into a perfect square, just as he likes, and thinks of the number on the board. The risk he took feels reckless yet essential. He did it for Kai, to show him you don't stay silent when you see something wrong, even if the world demands it. It's a lesson Chen himself is still grappling with. His phone buzzes on the counter, jarring like a shock. The caller ID shows Nexus Dynamics main line. This is it, the end. He takes a deep breath and answers, voice steady. This is Wei Chen. Mr. Chen, a crisp voice says, this is Min from Human Resources. You are requested to report to the 50th floor immediately. Ms. Lin will see you. Chen's stomach drops. Not a firing over the phone. Not a summons to a basement HR office. The 50th floor, Mei Lin's domain. This isn't a termination, it's an inquisition. Understood, he says. I'll be there after I drop my son at school. You will be here in 1 hour, Mr. Chen. Your son may wait in the 49th floor reception area, the voice replies, unyielding. The line goes dead. Chen stares at the phone. He's no longer invisible. He's a glitch in their system, a variable they didn't account for, and now the architect herself wants to inspect the flaw. He looks at Kai, whose steady eyes meet his. Change of plans, buddy, Chen says, forcing a smile that feels brittle. Let's go. Let's go, Kai, Wei Chen says, his voice tight. Looks like we're heading back to work. The ride up in the main elevator is unervingly smooth, a stark contrast to the rattling, oil-scented service lift Chen usually takes. He stands in the corner of the polished steel box, acutely aware of his worn work boots on the gleaming marble floor. Kai, unbothered by his father's tension, traces the faint reflections of the overhead lights on the wall with a fingertip, sketching an ephemeral constellation. To him, it's just another pattern. To Chen, the elevator feels like a cage ascending toward judgment. The doors open onto the 49th floor. The air here is crisp, laced with the faint scent of leather and ambition. A woman in a sleek black dress approaches, her smile efficient. Min, she introduces herself, the voice from the phone. Mr. Chen, she says, her eyes flicking from his janitor's uniform to Kai and back, a fleeting hint of confusion quickly masked. This way. Ms. Lin is expecting you. She leads them to a sleek reception area with low white chairs. Your son can wait here. We have sketchbooks and a tablet if he'd like. Chen kneels. I'll be back soon, Kai. Be good. Kai nods, already reaching for a sketchbook and colored pencils, his focus shifting to a new world of lines and shapes. He's safe in his own orderly universe. Min gestures down a glass-walled corridor. Ms. Lin's office is on the 50th floor. The private staircase is this way. As Chen follows, he passes executive offices, their transparent walls revealing people working with quiet intensity. In one, Liang Zhao stands by a window, phone pressed to his ear, but his eyes lock onto Chen. The look is pure contempt, a silent vow, you don't belong here, and I'll make you pay. Chen meets his gaze briefly before looking away, a cold knot tightening in his chest. Min knocks once on a heavy oak door and opens it. Mr. Chen is here, Ms. Lin. Chen steps inside. The office is vast, minimalist, dominated by a floor-to-ceiling window framing the city like a living canvas. No clutter, no personal touches, just a sleek black desk, 2 chairs, and Mei Lin. She stands by the window, her back to him, a sharp silhouette against the morning sky. Close the door, she says without turning. Chen does, the soft click loud in the silence. She turns slowly, her eyes analytical, scanning him like a faulty line of code. You changed the number on my whiteboard. It's not a question. It was wrong, Chen replies, his voice steadier than he feels. I know, she says, stepping closer, stopping just out of arm's reach. Her stillness is unnerving. My analysts, who I pay millions annually, missed it. How did you see it? Chen thinks of Kai, of the screaming number. The pattern was off, he says simply. The debt-to-asset ratio ignored off-balance sheet liabilities, a common tactic to inflate a company's value before a deal. Mei Lin's eyebrow lifts slightly, the only hint of surprise. A common tactic? You sound like an accountant. I clean floors, Chen says, holding her gaze. He won't offer his past, it's the one piece of himself he still owns. Yes, you do, she says, her tone unreadable. She circles him slowly, like a predator sizing up an anomaly. You have a son. Yes. He was with you. Did he notice it? Chen hesitates, protective instincts flaring. My son is observant, but the analysis was mine. Mei Lin stops in front of him. You broke protocol. You brought an unauthorized person onto a secure floor. You altered confidential data. I could fire you. Mr. Zhao is already preparing the paperwork. Chen's hands clench at his sides, but he stays silent. Firing you, however, would be inefficient, she continues, almost to herself. You have a skill my company lacks, and I don't tolerate waste. She picks up a slim silver tablet from her desk and holds it out. Take it. Chen hesitates, then takes it. The metal is cold, heavy. I own a subsidiary, Mei Lin says, her voice sharpening. Aurora Biotech. It's losing $2 million a month. My team, including Mr. Zhao, blames market trends. I say they're wrong. Her eyes lock onto his. That tablet contains 24 months of raw financial data. Find out why I'm losing money. Chen stares. You want me to audit your company? I want you to find the truth, she corrects. You have 48 hours. The door swings open, and Liang Zhao strides in, his face a mask of calculated concern. May, sorry to interrupt, but I saw the access request. You can't be serious about giving him this data. It's highly sensitive. He's a janitor, no vetting, no NDAs. Mei Lin doesn't look at him, her gaze fixed on Chen. Mr. Chen is now a temporary financial analyst, effective immediately. Pay grade to be determined. He has my personal clearance. Min is preparing the paperwork. Zhao's jaw tightens, a flush creeping up his neck. You're bypassing procedure. I handle procedure, Mei Lin cuts in, her voice like ice. You may go. Zhao shoots Chen a look of burning resentment before turning and shutting the door with a sharp thud. Mei Lin faces Chen again. 48 hours. Don't waste my time. 48 hours, Mei Lin says, her voice like a blade. Don't disappoint me. Wei Chen grips the tablet, its weight both a lifeline and a landmine. He's been given an impossible task, an adversary blocking his path, and a billionaire CEO who sees him as a useful but expendable asset. He's been noticed. He's been given a chance, but one that could shatter him more thoroughly than his fall 6 years ago. Stepping out of Mei Lin's office, the air feels different. Chen walks toward the staircase, clutching the tablet. Executives in the corridor glance at him, their curiosity undisguised. He's no longer a ghost, he's a glitch, a janitor summoned to the top, trailing whispers like a wake. Min waits on the 49th floor, her professional smile intact but tinged with newfound respect. Mr. Chen, she says, handing him a thin folder and a plastic ID card. Your temporary access badge for the East Wing offices, and these are the standard NDAs. Please sign them. She points to a small glass-walled office tucked between larger ones. You can work here for now. A transparent cage, where every move can be watched. Thank you, Chen says, signing the documents with a steady hand. He collects Kai from the reception area, where the boy is engrossed in a sketchbook, drawing a labyrinth of spirals and dead ends, a single path weaving through the chaos. It looks unsolvable. Ready to move, buddy? Chen asks. Kai looks up, nods, and closes his sketchbook. Chen leads him to the small office, sterile and cold compared to their cluttered, warm apartment. He sets Kai up in a corner with his sketchbook and a water bottle. I've got work to do, Kai. It might be dull. Kai gives a small, reassuring smile, already sketching again. For a boy of few words, his quiet confidence says, I know. You've got this. Chen sits at the desk, plugs in the tablet, and exhales. The Nexus Dynamics network accepts his new credentials. A single folder appears, Rora Biotech Audit. He clicks it, and the numbers flood the screen. The anxious janitor fades, the forensic accountant awakens. His mind slips into hyperfocus, a state untouched for 6 years. These aren't just spreadsheets, they're a living organism. He feels its pulse, senses where the flow falters, where the system is choked. He skips the polished top-line figures meant for boardroom presentations and dives into the raw data, expense reports, vendor invoice timestamps, wire transfer routing numbers. The truth hides in the details others overlook. Hours dissolve as he maps Aurora Biotech's financial flow over the past 2 years. A pattern emerges, not clean like Kai's drawings, but jagged, deliberate. A thread catches his eye, an invoice from Zenith Solutions for lab equipment. The amount is significant but just below the audit threshold. Among dozens of vendors, it shouldn't stand out, yet it does. Chen cross-references the invoice date with Aurora's inventory logs. No equipment was delivered. He searches Zenith Solutions. The website is polished but hollow, a Delaware P.O. box, a corporate registration less than a year old, an unfamiliar director's name. A shell company. Textbook fraud. Before he can dig deeper, a shadow falls across his desk. Playing with the big toys, Chen? Liang Zhao stands in the doorway, a smug grin on his face. Mei Lin gave you a fishbowl to flounder in. Don't break anything. Chen meets his gaze, silent, until Zhao's smirk wavers. With a scoff, Zhao leaves, but his words linger like a warning shot. Chen tries to access Zenith's full vendor payment history. Access denied. He tries again. Access denied. Server logs for the accounting software? Corrupted file. His jaw tightens. This isn't random, Zhao is locking him out, strangling his access to sabotage the 48-hour deadline. But Zhao's interference confirms Chen's suspicions, he's hiding something. If the front door is barred, Chen will find a window. He bypasses the accounting files and dives into the server's raw communication logs, a place only IT admins would bother with. Searching for data packets tied to Zenith Solutions, he finds encrypted transfers. Over the next hour, he writes a simple script to decrypt them. The code runs, revealing a list of transactions, small, recurring payments from Aurora Biotech to Zenith, disguised as consulting fees, maintenance contracts, even cleaning services. Then he sees it, the fraud's architecture. Money funneled through 3 shell companies, each laundering funds before passing them to the next, invoices coded to evade automated checks. The deception is layered, intricate. Chen's breath catches. His blood runs cold. It's not just fraud, it's familiar. The methodology, the digital fingerprint, mirrors the scheme that destroyed his career 6 years ago. The one that framed him, shattered his reputation, and left him to rebuild from nothing. His own investigation never unmasked the culprit, but now the truth stares back from the screen. Chen isn't just auditing Aurora Biotech. He's facing the ghost that's haunted him for 2,192 days. The architect of his downfall is here, in this building, working 50 feet away. This isn't about a whiteboard correction or a new job, it's personal. The pattern isn't just fraud, it's a signature. And Chen knows the author, Liang Zhao. For a moment, he can't breathe. The sterile office feels suffocating, the glowing numbers on the tablet morphing into taunts from his past. 6 years of shame, of vigilance, of scraping by in the shadows converge into a single, searing truth. Zhao didn't just block his access, he's been playing this game for years, and Chen is finally close to catching him. A surge of cold fury courses through Wei Chen, so intense his hands tremble. He wants to storm into Liang Zhao's office, slam the tablet on his desk, and watch his smug facade crack under the weight of exposure. But he stifles the urge as quickly as it flares. That's what Zhao expects, an emotional outburst, a wild accusation from a janitor. It would be Chen's word against the head of financial operations. He'd be labeled delusional, a disgruntled employee with a vendetta, and thrown out before he could utter fraud. His 48-hour window would slam shut. He takes a slow, deliberate breath. Emotion is a trap, he learned that the hard way. He needs proof, not just of the fraud, he's already unraveling that, but undeniable evidence tying it directly to Zhao. A similar method isn't enough. He needs a smoking gun. Chen glances at Kai, who's now sketching a complex knot, a web of lines so intricate it pulses like a living thing. But Chen knows there's a single thread hidden in that tangle. Find the end, pull, and it all unravels. His approach must shift. Zhao is locking down the financial data, anticipating his moves. Chasing those files is a losing race against the clock. Fraud isn't just numbers, it's people, their actions, their traces. He needs access to the human element, key card logs for Aurora Biotech's facility, email archives, meeting schedules. Who was communicating? Who was where they shouldn't have been? His temporary analyst credentials won't reach those systems. He needs an ally. Going to Mei Lin is tempting but risky. She trusts data, not stories of 6-year-old grudges against her trusted financial chief. Without ironclad evidence, it's too personal, too implausible. He must deliver her audit first, clean and impersonal, before revealing Zhao's shadow. He needs someone outside Zhao's control. Min in HR comes to mind. She serves the system, not Zhao, and saw Mei Lin back him. She knows he's on a mission from the CEO. It's a gamble, but it's his only shot. Chen steps out of his glass-walled office and finds Min at her desk, coordinating schedules with quiet efficiency. Min, he says softly. She looks up, startled. Mr. Chen, is everything okay? I've hit a wall, he says, keeping his tone neutral. I'm cross-referencing Aurora's financials with operational logs, but my access is blocked. Ms. Lin expects this by tomorrow, and the issue isn't just in the numbers. I need server logs. Min frowns, tapping her pen. Aurora's IT runs through Zhao's department. He'd have to approve access. He won't, Chen says plainly. She meets his gaze, a spark of understanding passing between them. Everyone on the 49th and 50th floors senses the tension. She glances around the open-plan office, then leans closer. The departmental IT admin won't help without Zhao's sign-off, she murmurs. But the central system archives, backups of everything, are managed by the infrastructure team. They report to corporate, not operations. Their hub is in the sub-basement. Who do I talk to? Chen asks, his pulse quickening. Shen Wei, she says. He's been here 20 years, knows every digital secret. Tell him Ms. Lin needs a ghost trace on Aurora's servers. He'll understand. Thank you, Min, Chen says, the words heavy with gratitude. Be careful, Mr. Chen, she says, her voice low. You're not the first to cross Zhao. Chen nods, grim. I'm starting to see that. Back in his office, a new plan takes shape, a path through the maze. To catch the man on the 50th floor, he must return to the world he knows best, the basement. Kai, now pulling the thread of his knot drawing, flashes a triumphant smile. Chen grabs his access badge. It's time to hunt. The The service elevator groans down to the Nexus Dynamics Tower's subbasement. The scent of polished marble fades, replaced by the familiar tang of ozone, dust, and overworked machinery. This is Chen's domain. For 6 years, these lower levels were his territory, a concrete maze he navigated better than the executives knew their portfolios. Here, he's no imposter, he belongs. The subbasement is a cavern of humming server racks, their green and amber lights flickering across polished concrete. Thick cables snake overhead like veins feeding the building's digital heart. The steady hum is loud but functional, a stark contrast to the discordant scream of Zhao's fraudulent numbers. Shen Wei's workstation sits in a corner, a pocket of organized chaos amid the roaring machines. 3 monitors glow with code and network diagrams, surrounded by empty coffee mugs and old hardware schematics. Shen, in his late 50s, wears a faded band t-shirt and a wiry gray ponytail. His eyes, sharp and weary, carry the cynicism of someone who's watched systems, and people, fail too often. He doesn't look up as Chen approaches. "Lost suit," he grumbles, glancing at the analyst badge on Chen's uniform. "Money's 50 floors up." "Are you Shen Wei?" Chen asks. "Depends who's asking." Chen steadies himself. "I'm Wei Chen, here for Mei Lin. She needs a ghost trace on Aurora's servers." Shen's fingers pause on the keyboard. He swivels, eyeing Chen up and down. "A ghost trace? That's a serious request. Mei Lin doesn't send janitors for that." He gestures at Chen's gray uniform. "My title is temporary. The deadline is not," Chen says, standing firm. Shen leans back, stroking his chin. He's testing him. "You know where the primary fiber optic conduit for the sub-level servers runs, analyst?" It's a trick question, an infrastructure detail not on any public schematic. But Chen isn't an analyst. He's a janitor. He spent 3 nights cleaning a flooded utility closet in this very subbasement 2 years ago. "It runs behind the west wall of the incinerator room," Chen says without pause. "The official schematics show it along the north wall, but they're outdated. It was rerouted in 2008 after a coolant leak, and no one updated the plans." A slow smile spreads across Shen's face. The cynicism in his eyes fades, replaced by a spark of respect. "Well, I'll be damned," he mutters. "An upstairs suit who's actually been downstairs." He swivels back to his monitors. "All right, analyst, you've got my attention. Let's see what ghosts you're chasing." Shen's fingers fly across the keyboard with speed and precision that belie his gruff demeanor. He's a master in his domain. "Zhao keeps his firewalls locked down," Shen explains, not looking up. "He thinks controlling the pipes means controlling the flow, but he forgets, I own the source." He sidesteps Zhao's barriers with a few clever commands. The screen flickers, and suddenly Chen is staring at Aurora Biotech's unfiltered core, keycard access logs, remote login histories, email metadata. "What are we after?" Shen asks. "Anything tied to a vendor called Zenith Solutions," Chen says. "And any unusual after-hours activity." Shen runs the query. Results scroll by in a flash. "There," Shen says, pointing to a pattern. "Remote logins to Aurora's accounting system. Always between 2 and 4 a.m., from the same external IP. Can you trace it?" Chen asks, leaning in. "Already did," Shen grins. "Routed through 6 countries, a pro job, but the final proxy ends at a city residential address, rented under a alias, of course. This is the digital operator, the one altering the books. But who's supplying the info? Cross-reference those login times with keycard access at the Aurora facility," Chen says, his heart racing. The results pop up instantly. And there it is, the thread to untie the knot. Every remote login coincides with one employee accessing the secure records room. Not an accountant, a low-level lab technician. "His name is Sato," Chen breathes, scanning the log. "Kenji Sato." "One more thing," Shen says, his fingers dancing again. "Let's check internal comms." He pulls up email metadata, no content, just senders, recipients, and timestamps. Nothing direct between Sato and Zhao. Too clever for that. But look here. He highlights a chain. Encrypted packets from Sato's work account to a dummy email. Minutes later, identical packets from that email to Zhao's executive account. It's a buffer, a layer of deniability, but the connection is clear. Chen stares, his mind whirling. Zhao isn't just the mastermind, he has a partner, an insider at the lab. Sato's feeding real data to the remote operator who launders the deals. He has it, the signature, the accomplice, the scheme. He glances at the monitor's clock. Less than 24 hours remain. He stands, a surge of urgency fueling him. "Shen, can you bundle this? Encrypt it." "Already done," Shen says, sliding a small silver flash drive across. "Go get your ghost, analyst." Chen takes the drive. It feels heavier than the entire Nexus Dynamics tower. He doesn't just have the signature, he has a name. And he knows, with icy certainty, that Kenji Sato is the one vulnerability Zhao fears most. Chen must reach him before Zhao does. Gripping the flash drive in his pocket, Chen rides the service elevator up from the building's mechanical core. The tiny device feels like 100-pound weight. Its truth distilled into gigabytes, his redemption and his explosive. One misstep, and it could destroy him. He skips his glass-walled office and heads to the vast window at the 49th floor corridor's end, gazing over the city. His thoughts race. He has the evidence, the tie to Zhao. The next logical move, march into Mei Lin's office, present it, and let the fallout begin. But instinct stops him. Zhao's cornered, even unknowingly. He's embedded in Nexus for years, forging ties, hiding skeletons. A frontal attack, and Zhao would wield his clout to discredit Chen as a bitter janitor with an agenda. Chen needs more than data, leverage. The chink in Zhao's armor has a name, Kenji Sato. He returns to his temporary office. Kai is still sketching, absorbed, head bowed. He's unraveled his knot and now shades two planets connected by a faint, glowing bridge of light. A bridge. That's what Chen must construct, evidence so unassailable that Zhao can't dismantle it. He sits at the terminal, flash drive in hand. He needs everything on Kenji Sato. Using his analyst credentials, he accesses the HR database. Sato's file loads. Photo, a weary man in his late 30s, eyes etched with worry. Lab tech at Aurora for 5 years. Reviews average. Pay modest. Nothing notable until the benefits section. Sato's dependent, a 6-year-old daughter named Hannah. Chen clicks insurance claims, a trail of hefty medical bills, many denied. Experimental therapies, specialized meds. The diagnosis code points to a rare autoimmune disorder. Chen runs a quick search. The outlook is grim, treatment costs exorbitant. He leans back, a chill settling in his gut. This is it, Zhao's leverage. Sato isn't a willing partner driven by greed. He gestures at Chen's gray uniform. My title is temporary. The deadline is not, Chen says, standing firm. Shen leans back, stroking his chin. He's testing him. You know where the primary fiber optic conduit for the sub-level servers runs, analyst? It's a trick question, an infrastructure detail not on any public schematic. But Chen isn't an analyst. He's a janitor. He spent 3 nights cleaning a flooded utility closet in this very sub-basement 2 years ago. It runs behind the west wall of the incinerator room, Chen says without pause. The official schematics show it along the north wall, but they're outdated. It was rerouted in 2008 after a coolant leak, and no one updated the plans. A slow smile spreads across Shen's face. The cynicism in his eyes fades, replaced by a spark of respect. Well, I'll be damned, he mutters. An upstairs suit who's actually been downstairs. He swivels back to his monitors. All right, analyst, you've got my attention. Let's see what ghosts you're chasing. Shen's fingers fly across the keyboard with a fluid grace belying his gruff demeanor. He's a master in his domain. Zhao keeps his firewalls locked down, Shen explains, eyes on the screen. He thinks controlling the pipes means controlling the flow, but he forgets, I own the reservoir. He circumvents Zhao's barriers with a few precise commands. The screen shifts, revealing Aurora Biotech's unfiltered core, keycard logs, remote login histories, email metadata. What are we after? Shen asks. Anything tied to a vendor called Zenith Solutions, Chen says. And any unusual after-hours activity. Shen runs the query. Results scroll in a blur. There, Shen points. Remote logins to Aurora's accounting system. Always 2 to 4 a.m., from the same external IP. Can you trace it? Chen asks, leaning in. Already did, Shen grins. Routed through 6 countries. Professional work, but the final proxy ends at a city residential address, rented under a fake name. This is the digital operator, the one altering the books. But who's supplying the intel? Cross-reference those login times with keycard access at the Aurora facility, Chen says, his heart racing. The results pop up. There's the thread. Every remote login coincides with one employee accessing the secure records room. Not an accountant, a low-level lab technician. His name is Sato, Chen breathes, scanning the log. Jun Sato. One more thing, Shen says, typing rapidly. Let's check internal communications. He pulls up email metadata, no content, just senders and timestamps. Nothing direct between Sato and Zhao. Too cautious. But here, Shen highlights a chain. Encrypted packets from Sato's work account to a dummy Gmail. Minutes later, identical packets from that Gmail to Zhao's executive account. A buffer layer, but the connection is clear. Chen stares, thoughts whirling. Zhao isn't just the mastermind, he has an insider. Sato feeds real data to the remote hacker who launders the transactions. He has it, the signature, the accomplice, the mechanism. The monitor clock shows less than 24 hours left. Chen stands, urgency surging. Shen, can you package this? Encrypt it. Done, Shen says, sliding a small silver flash drive across the desk. Go get your ghost, analyst. Chen takes the drive. It feels heavier than the entire Nexus Dynamics tower. He doesn't just have the signature, he has a name, and he knows with grim certainty that Jun Sato is the one Ling Xiao fears most. Chen must reach him before Zhao does. Clutching the flash drive in his pocket, Chen rides the service elevator up from the building's mechanical core. The tiny device feels like 100 pounds. Its truth distilled into gigabytes, his redemption and his explosive. One misstep, and it could destroy him. He skips his glass-walled office and heads to the vast window at the 49th floor corridor's end, gazing over the city. His mind races. He has the evidence linking Zhao. The next logical move, present it to Mei Lin and let the fallout begin. But instinct holds him. Zhao is cornered, even unknowingly. He's embedded in Nexus Dynamics for years, forging alliances, hiding secrets. A direct confrontation, and Zhao would wield his power to discredit Chen as a bitter janitor with an agenda. Chen needs more than data, leverage. The conspiracy's vulnerability. And it has a name, Jun Sato. He returns to his office. Kai is still sketching, absorbed, head bowed. He's unraveled his knot and now shades two planets connected by a thin, glowing bridge of light. A bridge. That's what Chen needs, an unassailable chain of evidence Zhao can't dismantle. His shoulders slump completely. He knows he's been caught. My car, Mei says, gesturing. It's private. Inside the cramped sedan, the air is heavy with tension. Kenji sits hunched, avoiding eye contact. Wei decides to speak, not as an analyst, but as a father. We know about the medical bills, Rio, he says gently. We know about the denied claims. We know you're in an impossible situation. That's all it takes. The dam breaks. Rio Tanaka crumbles, his face in his hands, his body shaking with silent sobs. The relief of being exposed is overwhelming, like a release from years of pressure. He said it was the only way, Rio whispers, his voice breaking. He came to me, Lee. He knew about Aiko. He said the company's special executive fund could cover it, all of it, the experimental drugs, everything. No questions asked. He looks up, his eyes pleading. All I had to do was copy some files, sign a few invoices he flagged. At first, it seemed so small. But it kept growing. He had me trapped. If I stopped, the funding for Aiko would stop. Wei feels a pang of sympathy for the man. He's a pawn, crushed between an unforgiving medical system and a ruthless predator. Did he make you keep records? Wei asks softly. Rio nods miserably. He was paranoid. Didn't trust the hacker he was using. He made me keep a separate ledger, a full record of the real amounts, the transfers, everything. A kill file, he called it. An insurance policy in case his own guy tried to blackmail him. Wei's heart leaps. This is it. The smoking gun. Where is it, Rio? On a flash drive, Rio says, his voice barely audible, taped to the back of a picture frame in my apartment. Mei, who has been listening in cold, assessing silence, leans forward. Her voice is sharp, decisive. Mr. Tanaka, your cooperation from this moment forward will determine what happens next, both for you and for your daughter's medical care. Nexus Innovations will assume the full cost of her treatment. In return, you will give us that drive. Hope, fragile and unbelievable, flickers in Rio's eyes. Yes, he breathes. Anything. Mei turns her gaze to Wei. The hunt is over. The final piece is within reach. Mr. Chen, your 48 hours are up. You found the wound. Now you're going to help me perform the surgery. She taps on the glass partition to the driver. Change of destination, she commands. Take us to Mr. Tanaka's apartment now. The car pulls smoothly away from the curb, a silent black vessel carrying the most unlikely of allies, a CEO, a janitor, and a broken man, all united against the shadow looming over their company. The endgame has begun. Rio Tanaka's apartment is small, smelling of antiseptic and simmering worry. The living room is a shrine to a child's long illness, cluttered with a nebulizer, a whiteboard of medication schedules, and colorful drawings, a testament to hope that is devastatingly expensive. In a trance-like state, Rio walks to a wall of family photos. He stops at a large frame holding a picture of a smiling, rosy-cheeked girl, clearly taken before her illness. With trembling hands, he takes the frame from the wall, removes the backing, and a small black flash drive held by tape falls into his palm. He turns and hands it to Wei, his expression a mixture of terror and profound relief. This is it, he whispers. Everything. Back in the hushed interior of Mei's car, the mood is focused. Mei produces a sleek, encrypted tablet, and Wei inserts the drive. A single password-protected file appears. The password is Aiko, Rio says softly. Wei types it in. The file opens to reveal a meticulous ledger, spreadsheets, scanned invoices with handwritten notes, and transaction logs. It details every dollar siphoned from Akari Labs. Then Wei finds the most damning part, a series of short, arrogant notes from Haruto, timestamped and attached to specific transactions. Increase margin by 8%. New vendor needed for R&D, a bonus payment for RT processed. It's more than a smoking gun, it's a signed confession. He documented his own crime, Wei says in disbelief. Arrogance, Mei says, her voice like flint. He thought he was untouchable. She looks at the data, her face a mask of cold fury. What's our move? I can have security escort him out in handcuffs now. No, Wei says immediately. That's too clean. He'll lie, deny, blame Tanaka. He needs to confess himself. He'll never confess, Mei counters. He will, Wei insists, a plan forming rapidly. If he doesn't know he's confessing, we set a trap. We make him think he's one. Mei listens, her eyes narrowing. You call an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning, Wei lays out. The agenda, finalizing the recommended liquidation of Akari Labs. His own plan. You tell him I failed. He'll walk in thinking it's his coronation. And you? Mei asks. I'll be there, Wei says, in my uniform, standing by the wall. The defeated janitor. He needs to see me as a failure. It's theatrical, Mei says, a grudging respect in her tone. I like it. She pulls out her phone. There's no need to wait. She finds Haruto's number and puts it on speaker. Haruto, Mei says, her tone weary and resigned. The 48 hours are up. Our analyst came up with nothing of substance. Your recommendation to liquidate was correct. Wei can almost hear the smirk on the other end. I understand, Mei. A complex problem indeed, Haruto replies, his voice smooth. I'm calling an emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. tomorrow to approve the motion, Mei says coolly. I want you to lead the presentation. Of course, Haruto says, his voice brimming with triumph. I'm happy to put this matter to rest. Good, Mei says, and hangs up. Mei turns to Wei, a dangerous glint in her eye. The trap is set. The car speeds through the twilight back toward the gleaming Nexus Tower. Ryo Tanaka is quiet, a man who has traded one prison for another, but with a glimmer of hope. Wei looks at the drive in his hand, then at the formidable woman beside him. The board meeting is set. Haruto Sato is walking into his own execution, believing it to be his coronation. The 50th floor boardroom is cold, the air humming with tension. The board members are seated, their faces grim. Mei Lin is at the head of the long obsidian table, a portrait of unnerving calm. Wei stands against the far wall, a mop in hand, his heart pounding. He is invisible again, just as planned. Haruto Sato strides in like a conquering hero, radiating smug, triumphant energy. He gives Wei a brief, pitying glance as he passes, the kind one gives to an insignificant nuisance. He sets up his laptop, and his presentation, titled Akari Labs, a strategic liquidation, flashes onto the massive screen. Haruto begins his performance, speaking smoothly of unavoidable fiscal realities and prudent paths forward. He presents charts and graphs, all telling a profoundly dishonest story. While there were some alternative theories, Haruto says, pausing to look directly at Wei, our deep dive analysis confirmed that external market pressures are the sole cause of Akari's downturn. Any other conclusion is simply not supported by the facts. He clicks to his final slide, motion to approve liquidation. He looks to Mei for the final nod, the rubber stamp on his grand deception. The room is silent. Mei lets the tension stretch until it's almost unbearable. Thank you, Haruto, she says at last, her voice dangerously clear. That was a very creative presentation. Haruto's smile tightens. Creative? Yes, Mei replies, but before we vote, I believe there's one more data point the board needs to consider. Her gaze lands on Wei. Mr. Chen, if you would. Every head in the room swivels toward Wei. Haruto stares, baffled, as Wei calmly places his mop against the wall and walks toward the main boardroom console. Mei, what is this? Haruto demands, his voice losing its smooth edge. What is the janitor doing? Wei says nothing. He reaches the console, pulls the small silver flash drive from his pocket, and inserts it. On the screen, Haruto's slide vanishes, replaced by a crisp image of the first fraudulent invoice from Apex Supply Solutions. Haruto's face drains of color. What is that? He stammers. That's not my file. There's a technical error. There is no error, Wei says, his voice quiet but echoing in the stunned silence. He clicks to the next slide. Haruto's own note appears, increase margin on this batch by 8%. Click. A bank transfer record. Click. Email metadata linking the scheme directly to Haruto's executive account. This is a record of a fraud that has siphoned over $43 million from this company, Wei says, his voice gaining strength. A scheme architected and executed by Mr. Sato. Absurd. It's fabricated. Haruto yells, pointing a trembling finger at Wei. He's working with a disgruntled lab tech to frame me. Is he, Haruto? Mei asks coolly. On cue, the boardroom door opens. Ryo Tanaka walks in, flanked by Hiroshi Nakamura and two members of corporate security. The moment Haruto sees Ryo, his composure shatters. The final facade of denial crumbles. You, he screams, his voice cracking, pointing wildly at Ryo. It was you. I did it for you. For your worthless, sick child. He clamps his mouth shut, but it's too late. He has confessed in front of a dozen witnesses. Mei Lin stands slowly, her authority absolute. Her voice is like ice. Security, escort Mr. Sato from the building. The authorities are on their way. Haruto doesn't resist. He's hollowed out, a puppet with its strings cut, and is led from the room. The board is in a state of shock, looking from the damning evidence on the screen to Wei, the man in the janitor's uniform who has just overthrown a king. Mei addresses them firmly. Effective immediately, Mr. Wei Chen will be the new director of our Internal Auditing and Risk Assessment Division. His first task will be to lead the recovery of every cent Mr. Sato stole. The meeting is over. As the stunned board members file out, Yuna quietly opens the door and lets Kenzo in. The boy runs straight to his father, wrapping his arms around his legs. Wei kneels and holds him close, burying his face in his son's hair. He looks up and sees the mop he left leaning against the wall, a relic from another life. He has his name back. He has his future back. He is no longer invisible. A month later, the 49th floor of Nexus Tower buzzes with a new kind of energy. The small, glass-walled office that was Wei's fishbowl is now the bustling headquarters for the new division of internal auditing, a team Wei built with people the system had overlooked. They are the company's new immune system. The Akari Labs case became a legend. Haruto Sato faces a mountain of federal charges, and Nexus is on track to recover nearly all of the stolen funds. Ryo Tanaka, in exchange for his cooperation, was given immunity and a new role in another state. The Celestial Fund, established by Mei Ling, now fully supports her son Kai's specialized therapy, tailored to his unique way of perceiving the world. Meanwhile, Wei's daughter, Hannah, flourishes at an academy that nurtures her extraordinary ability to connect ideas others miss. One late afternoon, Mei Ling stands in the doorway of Wei's spacious new office. A calm silence lingers between them, the kind born from a shared triumph over steep odds. I have to ask, Wei says, breaking the quiet with a question that's been simmering for weeks. That first day, why take a chance on me? Mei Ling gazes out the window at the city's twinkling skyline. Her poised demeanor softens. My mother was an inventor, she says, her voice low. She could rewire anything, radios, old clocks, in our tiny apartment, sketching circuits on scraps of paper. But she had a heavy accent and no formal degree. When she pitched her ideas to executives, they didn't see her brilliance. They only saw a struggling immigrant. She passed away believing she'd amounted to nothing. Mei Ling turns to Wei, her eyes carrying a quiet, enduring grief. I promised myself I'd never be like them, never dismiss a faint spark just because it didn't shout. When you told me Hannah saw the world in threads of color, I didn't just hear you. She pauses, steadying her breath. I heard my mother. And this time, I could do something about it. That evening, they stand together on the office's rooftop terrace. Hannah is with them, pointing to the stars emerging in the dusk. That's the crane, she says, tracing its shape for Mei Ling. Mei Ling, usually glued to reports or data streams, looks up. A rare, open smile crosses her face as she sees a pattern she'd never noticed before. Wei watches his daughter share her universe. He didn't just uncover a fraud in the system. He found a place where Hannah's distinct perspective wasn't a flaw but a strength. He found a leader who learned that true value isn't always measured in numbers. Sometimes, the most broken structures are mended not by sweeping reforms but by one person who dares to notice what others overlook. And sometimes, the most vital voice is the one that's been quiet, waiting for someone with the courage to truly hear it. What unique gifts are waiting to shine in your world? Your story counts. Your voice counts. If this tale stirred something in you or sparked a bit of hope, consider joining our community. We believe stories can shift the world, one listener at a time. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay compassionate and keep seeking the patterns.